Professional wrestling is a timeless hobby. It doesn't matter whether you're 50 years old, 8 years old, you can watch wrestling and find something that you love. And every wrestling fan from different years and different decades is gonna have different memories that made them fall in love with wrestling in the first place. And wrestling evolves quickly. In fact, I'd say it evolves year over year, and year over year, we seem to have a new face, a new top guy or girl that we need to be paying attention to. And that's what this video is all about. We're gonna jump in our time machine and look back at some of the best WWE wrestlers from every single year for the past 20 years. And of course, there's always a level of subjectivity, so feel free to let me know in the comments who you would put for each of these years. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I'm really confident that you're gonna like this channel because we upload daily wrestling content. Let's start with the year 2002, and 2002 had so many heavy hitters. It had already established stars like Hulk Hogan, The Rock, Stone Cold, rising stars like Jeff Hardy, Rob Van Dam, and other classics that are timeless like the Chris Jerichos and the Kurt Angles of the world. And of course, Triple H being at the top of his game. But all of those pale in comparison to the year that Mr. Brock Lesnar, the next big thing, had. Not only did he debut with an absolute bang, but he would go on to win the King of the Ring that year. He would go on to become the youngest ever WWE champion by defeating none other than The Rock, the People's Champion, at SummerSlam. He would go on to have a fantastic feud with The Undertaker, and all of it culminated with an early Royal Rumble victory in 2003. Brock Lesnar had a year that will be unmatched. I don't think it could ever be replicated. No one was even close to what this man was accomplishing in 2002. Brock Lesnar was the top guy this year. Next up, we have 2003, and just like 2002, this had a lot of heavy hitters, but the big difference is that 2003 was a transitionary year because we had lost Stone Cold and The Rock was no longer full-time. This was also the year that we had a lot of WCW call-ups like Goldberg. We also had a Big Pump, Scott Steiner, etc. But this was really between two people, in my opinion, two established veterans, because the WWE was trying to get younger and trying to make new stars. So they had to really rely on those few existing stars that they had left to carry the company. This was between Triple H, who was in the middle of his reign of terror, or who I decided to go with, Kurt Angle, who was an absolute monster, having the best matches imaginable in the WWE. He had a fantastic feud with Brock Lesnar. This man was at the peak of his career here, and that is saying a lot because Kurt Angle has a lot of peaks throughout his career because he's so phenomenal, but 2003 is absolute peak Kurt Angle. 2003 goes to Kurt. 2004, again, we're in a transitionary period. We're trying to make new stars, and this is the year where WWE finally hit the jackpot and found that new star in Mr. Eddie Guerrero. Not only was he having phenomenal matches with the likes of Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, he had a fantastic feud with JBL where he made JBL single-handedly into a main eventer. But this was also really the WWE giving that long-awaited, much-deserved championship to a guy who had been through the ringer for the better part of a decade at this point. It was such a good, feel-good moment for the WWE to recognize and make Eddie Guerrero their top star in the company, and he also deserved it. He was the absolute best thing in 2004. So I mentioned in 2003 that was the year where they were starting to cultivate new, younger wrestlers like the likes of John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, Shelton Benjamin, and trying to nurture them to try and find their next big star. And 2005 was the year where those big stars finally blossomed. I could have gone with Randy Orton, who had a fantastic feud with The Undertaker, the height of the legend killer, almost defeated the streak. I could have gone with Cena, who went on to beat JBL and become the first and win his first ever WWE championship. But ultimately, I ended up going with Batista, the Animal, who won the Royal Rumble that year. He went on to have a feud with Triple H that lasted months and was really the first person to truly win a feud against Triple H during his height of his reign of terror. He would main event WrestleMania. He would main event numerous pay-per-views with Triple H after the fact, and he'd go on to SmackDown to become their top star over there and have feuds with the likes of JBL. Batista was absolutely the hottest thing in professional wrestling, more popular than John Cena, I dare say, this year. year, absolutely deserved. He was the best thing going for the company this year. In 2006, you could say a different type of reign of terror began, because I wouldn't say we have Super Cena yet, but this is when fans are starting to get annoyed by John Cena, by his inability to lose, his borderline hokiness, and the fans started to really turn on him here. But still, this was the year of John Cena going on to defeat Triple H in the main event of WrestleMania and really just dominate the top of the card for the rest of the year. And I'm going to continue with this pace because 2007, let's be honest, also belonged to John Cena for the same thing. Main eventing WrestleMania, defeating Shawn Michaels, having fantastic feuds with the likes of Edge, and really, like, this is the WWE saying to the world, we found our guy. This is our next Hulk Hogan. This is our next Stone Cold Steve Austin. And now we're going to cram him down your throat for the next decade or so. So get ready, folks. But don't worry. I don't believe that I have any more John Cenas throughout here, but I want to acknowledge that really, even from 2006 to about 2015, I'm going to have a bunch of other guys in here, but in the WWE's eyes, John Cena was still their top prize. So I just keep that in mind. But 2006, 2007, no one even came close. I couldn't make an argument for anybody else aside for John Cena. 2008 is interesting because John Cena got hurt. So it gave me the opportunity to be able to really explore and pick somebody unique as opposed to just going with John Cena. There's a few options that I could have gone with here. Randy Orton was peak heel, not quite the bald menace Randy Orton just yet, but he was turning into peak Randy Orton. Undertaker had a phenomenal year this year. Edge as well. Triple H, of course, also had a fantastic year this year. But ultimately, there were two people who were super popular in 2008. One of them is Barack Obama, who became the president of the United States. And the other one was Mr. Jeff Hardy, the most popular man on the planet that wasn't named Barack Obama. This man catapulted seemingly, in my opinion, out of nowhere to superstardom. I haven't seen a man this over and this connected with the audience in years. He had both the casual audience and the hardcore audience on his side. Men, children, women, adults. It didn't matter what demographic you fell into. Everyone seemed to love Jeff Hardy. I was one of the few that wasn't on that Jeff Hardy bandwagon, but I can recognize that not my opinion doesn't always have to be the one that I have to portray. There is logic that I have to go by sometimes, and had I picked anybody aside from Jeff Hardy, this would have been disingenuous. Jeff Hardy, by far the biggest thing in 2008. In 2009, I could have gone Cena again. I really could have, but this was the year of I didn't even really pick a good bald picture of Randy Orton, but just pretend that this is bald, absolute menace Randy Orton. This is where he is the most dastardly of heels. He is the leader of one of the most powerful factions in the WWE at the time in Legacy. I don't think he quite succeeded, but really he was carrying Cody Rhodes and Ted DiBiase to try and help them make stars out of them. But ultimately you can only do so much. But Randy Orton, top of his game, winning multiple WWE championships, headlining the biggest shows. This was Randy Orton. I believe, did he win the Rumble this year too? Now, I'm starting to get my Rumbles mixed up, but I think this is he might have won early 2010. Either way, this year led into a big Rumble victory. Randy Orton, absolutely, this is one of the best years that he's had in his career. Randy Orton was the best thing going. In 2010, this is arguably the worst year in professional wrestling since like 1995, the dark ages of professional wrestling. 2010 is the year where a lot of people just started tuning out from the world of professional wrestling. It got too hokey. Cena was literally unbeatable. You could shoot Cena in the back of the head and he would still somehow overcome the odds and win. I didn't want to pick Cena this year. Of course, he was the biggest thing still in 2010. Dare I say, one of the few things in 2010, because we started losing a lot of top stars, like, for example, Batista was on his way out. This is a very frustrating year for wrestling. I would say the biggest thing this year was probably even though they mistreated them, the Nexus. The Nexus was the only thing really making headlines, making waves, and making people at the very minimum show an ounce of interest in the WWE during this time, during this year. And again, even though, they didn't really end up flourishing beyond SummerSlam, they were far and away the most talked about thing, the most interesting thing. And it got some people to start re-watching the WWE again, even though it didn't lead to a fantastic payoff. This, honestly, I could put an X in 2010. I don't think anyone really deserves it, but I'll go with the Nexus. 2011 is the year that I got back into the WWE, and I got back hard. This was the year that we had the return of The Rock. The Miz was cooking in the main event. Of course, we had John Cena, and Randy Orton was really playing second fiddle in the WWE, kind of in the mid-card, upper mid-card, etc. We had already lost Batista. Edge unfortunately retired this year. So this was the year where the WWE, if they didn't want a repeat of 2010, they needed to find lightning in a bottle, and they needed to find it fast. Luckily for them, that lightning in a bottle came in the name of CM Punk. And CM Punk single-handedly, for me, saved wrestling. I know he gets a lot of hate these days, but we have to recognize what this man did for the WWE. I really, truly believe that he saved wrestling. It was going down a very, very bad path. It got fans like me to care about wrestling again. It brought people who have been in hiatus from the WWE for the past several years back into the WWE, and it forced John Cena, a very stale character, to finally become human and take some losses and create dynamics to his character that we hadn't seen before. CM Punk was the guy in 2011, even though it was very clear WWE didn't want him to be the guy. They still wanted John Cena. They wanted to create a superstar in the world of Latin America in Alberto Del Rio, but the fans wouldn't let them. They wanted CM Punk, and they wanted him so much that we carried that popularity into 2012. This popularity allowed him to carry the title into at the time, record-setting reign of 300 and some odd days. I know it wasn't record-setting, but like modern era, it definitely was. The one egregious thing about this year is that even though he is the champion for the entirety of this year, he didn't get to main event like any pay-per-views. And this is what I meant when I said back in 2011, the WWE didn't want to make Punk their top guy, but they put the belt on him, but they still refused to treat him like the top guy. It was still all about John Cena. John Cena, for God's sakes, main evented a pay-per-view against John Laurinaitis, a pay-per-view where CM Punk was facing Daniel freaking Bryan. That's the level of disrespect that CM Punk was facing in 2011 and in 2012, but it didn't matter because as fans, we all knew that he was the best thing going, even if he had to carry Ryback through some shitty matches, but still, CM Punk was it. In 2013, the WWE is clamoring to find a new star. They clearly don't see Punk as their star. John Cena is always going to be John Cena, but he can't be John Cena forever. So this is the year where Brock Lesnar was being catapulted to the top. CM Punk was still near the top of the card, but still not treated like the main eventer that he should be. Ryback was being treated very highly here, but ultimately 2013 was the year of Daniel freaking Bryan, the Yes Movement. This is such a fantastic time to be a wrestling fan because for really the first time, this is when social media really started to blow up. The voice of the fans started to overshadow the voice of WWE creative. We were telling boisterously the WWE what we wanted to see, and what we wanted to see was somebody like Daniel Bryan get an opportunity, and he did, and he ran with it, getting that opportunity at SummerSlam, defeating John Cena, and then being embroiled in one of the most elaborate, most interesting storylines that the WWE has seen probably since Vince McMahon Stone Cold at the time. I'd say the Bloodlines is now like the top one, but we got to see him take on the Authority, getting screwed over by the likes of Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton. Dude, it felt like a WWE 2K23 storyline. It was fantastic, and the will of the fans catapulted this man, and I know it happened the year after, to a WrestleMania main event that honestly that caused a lot of fans to shed tears and regain hope that the WWE was going to listen to fans. 2014 could have gone to Daniel Bryan as well. That majestic Miracle on Bourbon Street run at WrestleMania definitely was in the conversation. But this was the year of Brock Lesnar once again, defeating the streak and ending the facade of Super Cena by absolutely destroying him at SummerSlam. And of course, this led to a title reign that seemed never ending at the time. But yeah, Brock Lesnar was like it, man. This was really the rebirth, the incarnation of the beast incarnate, Brock Lesnar, because he felt human before this year. He felt beatable. He was losing to the likes of Cena, Triple H, etc. But this was the year where Brock Lesnar was untouchable. You could not nip the buds of Brock Lesnar. This man was absolutely the biggest thing in wrestling at the time, even though a lot of people, felt a lot of resentment due to his part-time nature. 2015, we created some new stars. We created 3 actually, and all 3 of them could have been on here. It could have been Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, or Roman Reigns. Ultimately, I ended up going with Seth Rollins this year because this is the year that we had the heist of the century. He had a really long WWE championship reign that really only ended because of that knee injury. And this is also the year that SummerSlam that he took the US title off of John Cena, who was having, to what many people believe, the greatest US title run in the history of the WWE. Seth Rollins was it. But again, I could have gone with any member of the Shield. They all had fantastic years in 2015, but it had to be Seth freaking Rollins. 2016 was an absolute curveball because this is the year where the WWE really wanted it to be Roman Reigns, but this is also the year where the fans said, oh, hell no, it's not going to be Roman Reigns, because we just had the debut of the phenomenal AJ Styles, a year that saw him debut coming out of New Japan at the Royal Rumble. That is not a normal thing for WWE to do. At this time, whether you were big in Impact, TNA, they're the same thing, or New Japan, it literally didn't matter. You were going to NXT Black and Gold. The Finn Balor's of the world went there, Samoa Joes, the Nakamura's, the Kenta. It didn't matter that you were big anywhere else. In the eyes of Vince McMahon, you were a nobody. But even AJ Styles was so special that Vince McMahon said, fuck that. This man is debuting at the Royal Rumble, and he got a miraculous reception. Everyone instantly knew who this was. Everyone instantly knew how big of this signing was. And we haven't really had a signing this valuable and this big in the WWE in years. But not only did he have a phenomenal debut, no pun intended, he would go on to have a great match at WrestleMania. He would go on to win the WWE Championship. He would really lead that SmackDown brand split as the face that runs the place, the champ that runs the camp. And he would go on to have a fantastic set of matches in a feud with John Cena this year that culminated with a fantastic, probably John Cena's best match ever, next year's Royal Rumble. This was the year of AJ Styles. This year was phenomenal. 2017. They tried it in 2016, but I think they finally did it in 2017 with Roman Reigns, the big dog. Really, I didn't love this year. I was not behind Roman Reigns, but it's undeniable that Roman Reigns now is the one that had that unbeatable aura that John Cena seemed to have for years. This is also the year that he defeated The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns was it. And whether we wanted it or not, we had to accept it because WWE said he was it and crammed him down our throats. And that's ultimately what led us to turn on Roman Reigns. But it is undeniable. It would be disingenuous and borderline just lying of me if I didn't put Roman Reigns here. Roman Reigns was the biggest, hottest thing in 2017. It just wasn't for a lot of us. 2018, we got back to a little bit of reality and we went back to AJ Styles, who again had that phenomenal championship run, just carried the top of the card for the entirety of 2018. I'm not going to say too much about this year because everything that I said about 2016 really resonates as well with this year. AJ Styles was it. He really demonstrated to the top brass in the WWE that his size didn't matter. He was the second coming of Shawn Michaels. It was just unfortunate that we got him in the WWE so late. In the WWE at this point fully trusted him to be able to carry the mantle in the WWE while being able to main event and defend the championship at some of the biggest shows that year, like WrestleMania against Nakamura and of course SummerSlam. 2019, we have a huge combo breaker because it's all been dudes up until this point, but this is the year, the birth of the man Becky Lynch, who catapulted to superstardom. The year before, admittedly, in late 2018, with the whole Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch feud that never actually led to a match, the SmackDown versus Raw stuff, but her heel turn in 2018 catapulted her to have one of the greatest babyface runs in the modern era in 2019, holding the Raw Women's Championship for the entirety of the year. Actually, no, like she technically won it at WrestleMania, which was in April. Okay, she held it from April for the rest of the year, actually into the pandemic when she had to relinquish the Raw Women's Championship due to her pregnancy. But she was also Becky Two Belts because she was both Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion at the same time when she won the first ever women's main event at WrestleMania. Not a WrestleMania Night 1 main event, the main event of WrestleMania. Let that sink in. That was the level of popularity that Becky Lynch had, because had that level of popularity not been there, the women likely wouldn't have main evented. It likely would have been Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. But it was undeniable that Becky Lynch was the biggest thing in the WWE. Charlotte Flair, of course, had that echelon already about her, and Ronda Rousey was the new hot thing in the WWE. Those women absolutely deserve to main event WrestleMania, and Becky Lynch is the one that won that main event. Let's not forget that 2019, she also won that year's Women's Royal Rumble. Like, she literally did it all in 2019. There was no man that even came close. Second place was her husband, Seth Rollins, but even then he was like way down here compared to Becky Lynch. 2020 could have been Roman Reigns because he came back after SummerSlam as the tribal chief, reinvented himself, changed everything about him. In fact, the pandemic and the fact that there were no fans really forced Roman Reigns to change up his character. It allowed us to hear his in-ring psychology and trash talking during matches, and it really helped elevate his game. I think that the Thunderdome did wonders for Roman Reigns. That being said, he was not the man that carried the company for the entirety of 2020. That was Mr. Drew McIntyre, who would go on to win that year's Royal Rumble. He would go on to win that year's WrestleMania 36 main event, unfortunately in front of no fans because of the pandemic, but he was the one that dethroned the undethronable Brock Lesnar at the time, and he would go on to be the man carrying the mantle of the WWE Championship and the main event for the entirety of the year. Again, Roman Reigns' return as the Tribal Chief was in 2020, but it was Drew McIntyre who was there from beginning to end, regardless of whether there were fans or no fans, putting his absolute best work of his career. It's just a shame it was in front of no one. In 2021, of course, it's Roman Reigns having an absolute unbelievable year, beating everybody that stepped up to the tribal chief got absolutely smashed. He even sent some people out of the WWE like Daniel Bryan. He would main event WrestleMania that year and double pin Edge and Daniel Bryan. He would go on to main event again at SummerSlam against a returning John Cena in a fantastic match. Every single thing that Roman Reigns did in 2021 catapulted him to the top, and it was not even close. There was no one on his level in 2021, and there was no one in his level in 2022, because this is the year where the real true reign began of him winning both championships at WrestleMania 38 against Brock Lesnar. But then he would go on to have fantastic main events like that SummerSlam that year with Brock Lesnar where the ring got flipped, the match against Logan Paul, the match against Drew McIntyre, Clash at the Castle. He was part of the biggest storyline in wrestling at the time between him, the Bloodline, Sami Zayn. Like, the world of professional wrestling revolved around Roman Reigns for the entirety of 2022. Now we're on to 2023, and I think there's a lot of people that it could be, but this is where I'm going to toss it to you in the comment section. If you made it this far, let me know who you think is the best superstar so far in 2023. I'll get out of here.